Come in.
Hi, Andrew Brownlee from 3.
Hi, Andrew. Kashonda Dunn.
Hi, nice to meet you.
No, I'm not Kashonda though. But have a seat.
May I use some of your desk space here?
Sure.
Thank you. So how has your week been going so far?
It has been a long week, but we're at Friday and it's almost done.
Well, would you like to elaborate a little bit about your week, or?
No, just work stuff.
Really?
Yeah, just work stuff.
I can totally understand that. Both of us are happy it's Friday finally. So,
Yeah.
Earlier this week I got to talk to Sam Gallagher over at ESI, and he mentioned that you had a pretty good relationship, and that kind of brought me here today. We had a conversation about some products that may be able to help him, help you, and also in turn help you gain some more customers and retain the ones that you have even more. So for the main reason for my purpose for my call today is in order to understand RMC a little bit better and your role as a purchasing manager. So that way we could try to uncover some challenges you may face in the manufacturing process, and also maybe even some costs you have that you may be able to get rid of. And from there, I would like to provide you some solutions to get rid of those challenges. Does that sound good to you?
Sounds good.
Okay, may I start by asking you some questions?
Sure.
Okay, thank you, and I appreciate your time here today.
Thank you.
So, exactly what's your decision-making process over at RMC when adding a new product to your line?
Decision process is pretty simple from that perspective. Obviously, with me having the role of purchasing manager, those decisions rest with me. My biggest thing is all about how we can reduce costs. So any products that we're going to bring in has to be able to show that it can reduce costs in all areas of our facility. And, from that perspective, so, it rests on me, but if there is any testing that has to proceed from that perspective, I have a colleague who's in our production group that I tend to work with from that perspective. But again, most of the final decisions rest with me.
All right, and may I ask that colleague's name, just for record purposes?
His name is Alex.
Okay. And from there, I just want to ask you, what are some new criteria that you look for when evaluating a new product before you even consider adding it to your line?
From that perspective, again, my biggest thing is, costs. How can, how does it help me to reduce costs in my facility today? Is it going to be able to save time in the production process? Again, even is it going to be able to save money from that perspective, whether it's on top line or bottom line from that perspective? Those are the things that I tend to look for from that perspective. So, again, I'm tasked with cost and reducing them, and if that's how we evaluate what products come in, is how it can help me, how it can help us, I should say, to be able to reduce costs from that perspective.
Okay, so you could provide me with a couple examples of some products now, or some things on your cost sheet or your spec sheet that you see opportunity to reduce that cost or that expense, or some opportunities where you see you may be able to gain, where you may be able to increase your profit margin.
Well, of course, we manufacture buses here at this facility. Right now, we're from a production standpoint, we're manufacturing 6 buses per day. Okay. 6 buses per week. Okay. And we use a lot of different materials to be able to manufacture that particular product, if you will. Obviously, to be able to assemble those buses, we use quite a bit of rivets to be able to do that. At the moment, as I was pulling some reports, at the moment we are using about 3,500 rivets per bus. And when I did some calculations with it, we're at about 6 cents per rivet from that perspective. And I think that I've come up with that we're spending about $60,000 a year in rivets. It seems like it's ton there. And as far as the cost per bus from that perspective, we're at about $210 per bus as it relates to rivet cost and rivet cost alone. How we, in our assembly process with the rivets, obviously we do use some sealant adhesives to be able to seal around the rivets to prevent leakage and things of that nature. And I think I estimated that we're using about 26 cartridges per bus, and from a cost perspective, we're probably spending about $50,000 to $60,000 a year on sealant alone.
Really?
So, if there's ways to be able to reduce material costs at the moment, I think that's kind of like the biggest thing that's on my plate at the moment.
Right.
It seems like we're spending quite a bit of money on materials from that perspective, and if we can reduce those costs in any way, there may be some interest and some opportunities there.
Okay, so I was speaking about cost, and I would really want to talk about that deeply. But just to focus back on, you said 6 buses a week. I was just kind of wondering if you could tell me how much money you profit when you do sell a bus.
At the moment, I think that we're profiting somewhere between 10 to 15%, each bus from that perspective.
And coming from a monetary standpoint, how much do you get to take home from that 15%?
If I had to guess, and I don't really want to guess from that perspective, but if we had to guess, maybe some of our take-home profit is somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 15,000, somewhere in that in that number.
Mm-hmm. So to talk about the rivets and the sealants that you use, are there any problems that you face currently with the rivets? Is it having any problems as far as doing the job it needs to do?
I haven't heard any issues of any I've not heard any issues of performance from the rivets from that perspective. That may be more of a question for Alex, our production person. Again, I'm just primarily tasked with cost of the product itself from that perspective. So again, I don't have any issues that I'm aware of performance-wise with the mechanical fasteners today.
Okay, so from speaking with you here, I see that cost is really your main focus, as well as many companies out there, as well as mine. And with that cost, you're looking to reduce the expenses, as well as make as much revenue as possible, make as many buses in that 15% as possible. Is that a fair estimate of what you need to? Some of the challenges you face as a purchasing manager?
Yeah, that's kind of a fair assessment.
Okay, so I see here that you spend about $60,000 a year on rivets, and also about $60,000 on the sealants. I would like to ask, how much time do you spend applying those to the bus? How much do you spend on production?
That probably would be a better question for Alex from a production standpoint, because he would have a lot of information around the time that it takes for them to assemble a bus using our current system today. Again, I'm just only tasked with the materials aspect of it from that perspective, but that may be where he can come in and help and be able to provide additional data to be able to support that.
Okay, all right, so from there I would like to demonstrate you the VHB tape. It's a revolutionary product coming out of 3M, and it stands for Very High Bond Tape, and its main focus is to cut down on production time, as well as being a good replacement for rivets, welding, and also the sealants that you may use. And with that, it does a very good job.
Tape.
Yeah, it is.
I don't think that's gonna work.
I could understand that. We actually get that objection a lot here at 3M because it is tape. A lot of people associate that with Scotch tape, duct tape, and things like that. But
feels like that's more of a science project or an art project or something more than it would be for a manufacturing process. I'm not so sure if that's something we'd be interested in.
Okay, I could understand that. I would just like you to spend a little time here with me on the demonstration process, so I can show you exactly the ways we use this tape and the things that it could do for you and also your clients. So For example, here we have this high beam. It's put together with VHP tape down the middle, and it's two big steel parts. So if you can try to like break that bond there, bend it however you want, and you can see
how am I just do that?
bend it as hard as you can. And as you see, the metal is actually bending before the tape gives anyway. And that's just one case of how well our VHP tape works. And as far as using it, as far as comparing it to rivets and welds, you can see here. I know you are a purchasing manager, but just so you can know, the rivets are here on your right side, and the welds are here on your left. And as you can see, they both have blemishes, and the rivets actually stick up a little bit, a couple centimeters off. And on the flip side, you do see those blemishes as well. And the VHP tape here actually is on both of these sides, left and right, and you can see there's no blemishes whatsoever on the top end. And also, on the back end, it's completely polished. And from there, as a purchasing manager, you can actually add more advertisements on the side of your buses, because we found that you don't have to deal with the holes and everything that the rivets have, so you can put a lot more advertisements, and with that, that's an extra revenue stream. Just by using the VHP.
What do you mean by that?
I've seen a lot of buses out there, even the PDN 200s that you're currently manufacturing. They take advantage of the sides of the buses to have modern day advertisements as a way of a revenue stream. You may do that now already, you may not. But if not, that's a way that you could go. Actually,
we're not doing that today. But I do remember being a part of the meeting where we are looking to get into some new markets, and with those new markets, I believe communication was one of them, with billboards on the side. But I don't think that there's been a product innovation that's out there that can replace rivets, if you will. I think that's been one issue. So for you bringing that up, that's kind of interesting. I'm certainly kind of intrigued at the moment, even though I kind of scoffed at you about tape before. So
yeah, it's a really innovative product, and it's hard to grasp. Even I had to go through a training about 3 or 4 weeks just to understand the product as a whole. But as your role as a purchasing manager, I would like to show you these 3 graphs here. Again on the left side here, you see the rivets, and this is the yearly projection of time hours. About 10,000 hours, and the tape will only take about 1,000. And to jump to the graph up here, you can see that the rivets are very heavy, and that kind of goes to how many rivets you can stock, and also put on the bus. And then the roll of tape is actually just about 1 pound. And with that, you can stack more tape other than rivets. And then up here, you can see the cost, and I know you're very interested in cost. So we see here that the yearly projections for the VHP tape, given all variables, would be about $150,000, with the rivets being about $950,000. And that's a general explanation. So if you took your numbers and plugged them in, you could also see the same thing. And that's just a little bit about the rivets and about the VHP tape and how they can apply to you as a purchasing manager and reduce those costs to you.
Can we see that graph again? I want to go back to something, because I saw something on one of the graphs that I thought was pretty interesting. I also recall in one of our other meetings that we were talking about weight from that perspective. And can we see that? Can you bring that graph out again?
Yeah, I can bring it out. I would just like to touch on a couple more points, and then also after that, I will let you can keep this. And then I can actually email you more graphs that we do have at the facility. I would just like to touch on and ask you, based off the product presentation here, do you think that the VHP tape can actually hold up to the very high bond name and be a viable replacement for rivets and welds?
I do think that all the information that you showed me thus far has definitely piqued my interest from that perspective. Okay, I really would have liked to see that graph again on the weight, because there was a point that I was hoping to make there. But if you're going to send that information to me, that would be good. Okay. But I definitely I'm definitely interested in most of the information that you presented today from that perspective.
Okay, and with that interest, what I would like to ask you for the next step moving forward is if we would be able to get a conjoined meeting, because I think that your expertise in the purchasing sector is very important in moving on forward. I would like to schedule a meeting with Alex because I haven't got the chance to meet him yet, and for us to go in there together and figure out a way that we could get this new product on your spec sheet and put it on the new PDM 200 buses that you do have coming out. Do you think that that meeting is something that we could set up?
I do think it's a meeting